Okay, so this video is going to quickly explain to you how you're going to play latitude and longitude Battleship. Okay, so your paper is going to look something like this. I'll show you a better example in a second, but I'm going to explain to you kind of the rules. So here's a little zoomed in image of your grid. It has your lines of latitude going side to side, measuring north and south of the equator. It also has your lines of longitude measuring east and west of the prime meridian. Okay? When you plot your ships, if you've ever played Battleship before, you must put them on an actual line of latitude and longitude. Now, we know in the real world there can be um, lines of latitude and longitude that are not exactly pinpoint on the graph, but for this game, you are going to make sure you put them on an actual line. So for example, this would be what your dot would look like when you're plotting the dots for your ships. They have to be where two lines meet. You'll not be putting them in random space. Like I said, just for the sake of this game. We know in real life there can be cities and states and countries that are in between, but just for this game, I want you to put all of your dots for your ships on actual lines of latitude and longitude. Now you'll notice this grid only shows you 20 and 40, but you have to make inferences to know that this line would be 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, so it can be on these lines without the numbers, but you know that you're able to, like I said, get what these lines are without the numbers having to be there. So make sure when you plot your ships, you're going to put them where two lines meet. Now you'll be plotting 3 ships on your board. One called the 3 dot, and that just means that it's 3 dots long. One called the 4 dot, which means it's 4 dots long. And one called the 5 dot. So when you plot those on your board, it might look something like this. So you'll see my 3 dot ship. It's here in the red. It's 3 dots. They're all right in a row, and they're all on lines of latitude and longitude. So my 4 dot, 4 in a row, and 5. Now you cannot go diagonal, so we're not going to do any diagonal. It is either up and down or side to side, but you can plot them wherever on your map. You can even plot them on these lines here on the outside, because technically, as you can see, they are 40 degrees east and 40 degrees west. Same thing with the bottom and the top. Okay, so it's all fair game, but it must be up and down or side to side. Okay, you're going to be plotting your ships on the side that says you on your paper. It says where your ships are going to go. Okay, so again, let's say here's our example. Here are our ships. Now, if you've never played Battleship before, you and your partner can't see each other's boards. That's why there's a folded or a dotted line here. That's you're going to fold your paper so your opponent can't see. But your opponent is going to try to guess where your ships are using the coordinates of latitude and longitude. So let's say your opponent guesses that one of your ships is at 20 degrees north and 20 degrees west. So that would be right here. You don't have any part of your ship there, so you'll just tell them, miss. Now, let's say your partner guessed that your ship or part of your ship was at 10 degrees north and 20 degrees west. Well, there's a part of your ship there, so you have to say hit. When you say hit, when you say hit, you put an X over it, and that lets you know that your partner got it right. They'll also be marking it on their paper, and I'll show you that here in a second. But whenever a part of your ship gets hit by your opponent, you will put an X over it. Okay? Like I said, you will also be trying to guess your opponent's locations of their ships, and you're going to mark those on the opponent's side. So when you're going to guess your opponent's absolute locations, that's going to bother me, language arts teacher. When you are trying to guess your opponent's absolute locations, you will signify if you guessed it and it was a miss, you'll just circle that point. If you guessed it and it was a hit, you'll put an X over that point. So I'll show you here on this next slide. Okay, so like I said, when you are guessing your opponent's absolute locations, you're going to mark if it's a miss or a hit. So let's say that you guessed that your opponent's ship was at 20 degrees south and 20 degrees west. And they said miss. You're just going to circle that part so you know not to ask it again. But then let's say you say 20 degrees north, 30 degrees east, and they say hit. You're going to put an X on that location so you know that one of their ships is there. Okay? And you'll just keep going back and forth every other turn, guessing where each other's ships are located. So let's say you get a hit. Well, remember, you want to try and find where their ship is because you want to sink their ship. That's the, uh, goal of this game. So you know that they can either go side to side or up and down. So you're going to want to guess these locations that are located around where you got your hit. So let's say you end up getting them all right, um, and you hit 3 in a row, and they say, hit, you sunk my 3 dot. Because remember, that's the goal. You want to be sinking their ship. So if you guess all 3 in a row, you sunk their 3 dot, then on your list, you'll just cross out 3 dot. And that way you know you already sunk that ship. You're looking for their 4 dot or their 5 dot. So I'm hoping, like I said, that this makes some sense. I have an example of what your paper actually looks like. So you'll get this full-size paper, you'll fold it the dotted line. I just put some directions up here at the top for you to remind you from this video. You'll have your board here where you plot your 3 dot, 4 dot, and 5 dot ship. And then here's where you will keep track of your opponents, where you're trying to sink their ship. Okay, so it'll look something like this while you're in the midst of the game. So this is your side. You plotted all of your ships. You can see your opponent has guessed a couple of them, so you've put an X over them. And here is your side of the paper where you're marking your opponent's ships. And you can see you've guessed some misses. Then you've also gotten some hits. They said that you sunk their 3 dot, so you cross that off, and now you know you're on the hunt for the 4 or the 5. So this is just the game that you're going to play. Find a partner, get some piece of paper and a pencil, and go ahead and get started. Remember, you don't want your partner to see your ship, so when you're writing them, make sure it's covered. If you have any questions, you can see me. If you get finished with the game, come on over to me, show me your boards, and the winner will get a prize. And after there's a winner of your game, you can either erase everything and play again, or you can study the Quizlet terms for our location unit on Google Classroom.